third quarter supplemental tax assessment Board of Appeals for FY '24, third quarter FY '24. Is anybody here to speak on behalf of their tax assessment? All right, if not, I'll leave the meeting open, in case somebody wants to come forward. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and call the regular mayor and council meeting to order. If everybody can please stand for a pledge. I.
Flag. United States of America. To the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Barrett. Here. Councilmember Saunders.
Here.
Councilmember Price. Here. Councilmember Jackson. Acting City Manager Graham.
Present.
City Solicitor Rodunda.
Present on behalf of Mr. Redundant.
Police Chief Henderson.
Here.
And City Secretary Pincus is also here.
All right, thank you. Go into the action upon the minutes of the previous meeting, I believe it was for December 18th.
Make a motion to accept the minutes for December 18th.
All right, any motion to second, any further discussion? None, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Go into the police report.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson, council, city staff, and those in attendance. I'd like to present the police report for the month of December and some additional statistics for the calendar year 2023. If you refer to the crime view map of our town, we'll start at the upper right-hand corner. The larceny incident was a theft of services from one of our local businesses. The matter was actually resolved by an officer without an arrest taking place. The second larceny, pinpoint just to the left of the center of the map, was a package theft where an item was removed from a resident's front porch. The department has doorbell camera footage. That was also shared on Facebook and continues to investigate this incident. The gray W pin was a warrant attempt requested by Ellesmere PD on the whereabouts of their subject that was believed to be in a residence here in Delaware City. The suspect was not located, and his residency status is unclear. They remain wanted by Ellesmere, and on our radar if they return to town. The green disorderly conduct pinpoint was a phone harassment complaint. The department contacted the subject, and any further correspondence ceased. The orange simple assault was an altercation involving two adults where an arrest was made. And the weapons offense below that was an involved incident that I'll touch on later during significant events. And finally, the noise violation at the bottom left corner was a barking dog complaint. Barking dogs were no longer barking, but the owners were made aware. Look at our December calls for service. See the chart, the graph shows, again, Saturday and Sunday are not our busiest days. I always touch on that. 12 o'clock noon was the busiest as far as complaints for the month of December. We had 41 calls for service. That's down from 48 last December. And we ended the year with 668 calls for service. That's down from 812 last year. That's a little over 17% change. We had 6 traffic arrests, 9 traffic warnings, 2 crime prevention checks. We wrote 11 crime reports, 12 field service reports. There was 1 accident. It was a hit and run with a parked vehicle, and we had 20 criminal arrests. For significant events, Officer Williams investigated an incident where the suspect was taken into custody for an assault of their significant other and threatening family members with a weapon. The defendant was charged accordingly with 12 crimes and transported to Howard Young Correctional Institute in lieu of $39,500 bail. The department assisted the Wilmington Police after arresting the operator of a vehicle stop for an assault incident which occurred in the city. WPD had an outstanding warrant for the adult subject who was taken into custody without incident and transported to their agency for processing and arraignment. Officer Williams completed a personal injury crash investigation from June where the operator struck two parked vehicles and a residence on Clinton Street. After receiving toxicology results from the Office of Forensic Science, the operator was charged with DUI while under the influence of drugs and other related traffic charges. The operator turned themselves in at our department and was released with no bond. The camera project has shown recent progress as electric access and installation of meters on utility poles has begun. Once these steps have been completed, the emergency response protocol will start their camera install. I made contact with them. It's actually not their meter that we saw installed, and we're still going through some red tape with DP&O. I can assure you the process is not being slowed because of our efforts. Myself, the town hall, and even the mayor has been involved to try to expedite this. So the department took part in the Lions Club food drive, the Delaware City Community Park District Santa event, and the Delta Sigma Theta Christmas event that was held in the Delaware City PAL during the holiday season. Officer Williams also handed out toys that were donated by a resident who wished to remain anonymous. If anyone is aware of a Delaware City family in need, please reach out to Officer Williams, as we still have toys remaining for future donations. And Lieutenant Clemens' hours have increased significantly to nearly full-time. Be sure to reach out and introduce yourselves to Lieutenant Clemens when you see him around town. It also included some statistics from 2023. It's a chart of all of our, the graph shows all of our complaints for 2023, the day of the week and the times that were most prevalent. For traffic arrests, they were down 48%, we had 213 in 2023. Traffic warnings were down 26%. Crime prevention checks down 40% with 25. Crime reports and field service reports down somewhat. Accidents were down 15%. With our staffing, it's pretty impressive. Our criminal arrests were up 126%, and that's with 6 more felony investigations than in 2022. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for the chief? All right, move on to the city manager report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, residents, staff, and visitors. I'll be presenting the city manager report. We have hired a new code enforcement, part-time code enforcement officer. Her name is Linda Tickle. She comes to us from Newcastle County. You will see her out. She has been out and about in the town already, so introduce yourselves to her if you happen to run into her. The HVAC bid for the community center has been awarded to Amacor Inc. Contracts are currently being signed, and we'll be issuing a notice to proceed forward with this contract this week. More details up in the coming months. This project will be funded with our community reinvestment funds from the state, and that'll be noted on the financial report next month. A breakdown of that'll be given. We're still waiting for official awarding of the FEMA grant for the Monroe Madison Street Flood Mitigation Project. Our last update was on January 12th, and they're just stating that the application is still under review at this time. For Dantas, previously Duffield is working to submit a draft of our seawall and sea level rise report to us within the next few weeks. That concludes the city manager report for this month.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the acting city manager?
I've got a couple of questions. Last month, Harry mentioned that Blue Water was starting again, considering to start up again, and he was gonna have a meeting with them on December 20th. Do you know how, if that happened, and what's going on?
The meeting did take place, but the summary I received from the meeting is that there were no details. Nothing brought forward to basically notice anyone up. They're still in the stages and they have not finalized anything or adhered to any timeline for it.
Okay. And then on the, he also reported on the generator for the, community center and everything. Do you have any, is that still moving forward?
Well, the last, interaction with Beta Engineering was we submitted the community center electric bills to them. That was our last interaction with them, and we were just still waiting to hear back from them on their progress after reviewing those invoices from Delaware.
And my last question is, has Artesian given you any update on what they're finding out about the pipes?
No, I have heard nothing from Artesian. Sarah left.
Thank you. Oh, but no, I'm sorry, one more. The pump was downtown, in front of Krabby Dick's during the last storm, and I was surprised to see it on Harbor Street. There was a pump put in the street.
Yeah, we have.
Yes, that's an emergency pump that we still bring out when coastal storms are coming. Just a
Okay,
backup
so-
pump.
Okay, so the other pump that we have, the one that's on Washington Street, that all that stuff ties into now, isn't capable of doing the whole thing? 'Cause I thought it was supposed to be.
Well, we didn't know, that's why we had the pump put there. This is kind of like the first record flooding that we were waiting on. I do believe that the pump had to kick on because we were at on those record levels. So it was like Michelle said, it was just basically put there as a backup or an emergency to see how the permanent pumps would handle.
Okay, do the permanent pumps work okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we weren't gonna be having to do that, on an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? Yes.
Hi, my name is Shannon. I live on 208 Madison. When you brought up the Madison Monroe drainage problem, that's kind of why I'm here. Can you tell me what, that entails?
To be honest with you, it is a whole engineering project. And actually, when we are actually awarded the FEMA grant, Varantis is actually gonna come and do a presentation on that project to give the details of what that entails. They were here like a couple of years ago and gave us the detail on it, but it is, trust me, a lot of technical things that's way beyond my knowledge level.
See, the only reason I say that is because of the Monroe issue and drainage. All that water comes back to my basement. My
Yeah.
house is the one right behind it, and that's.
And I think it was 2020 or 2021, I forget what year, that, they had pictures from the flooding that occurred,
Mhm.
and this, project is to eliminate that issue is what it is.
Okay.
And like I said, they will be here, once we are awarded the grant from, FEMA, they'll come in and do a presentation of all the work that's being done and what it is going to actually remediate.
Okay, thank you.
You welcome.
All right, we're gonna move on to the city solicitor report.
Good evening, Chandra Williamson standing in for Bill Redenda, and the solicitor's office has been working on just a few matters this past month. One being working with the city regarding the elections coming up, making sure everything is in order for that. And the second one is relating to the appointment of a new city manager. Other than that, there wasn't too much going on this past month for the solicitor's office.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the solicitor? All righty. Finance report?
Good evening, I'll be presenting the internal unaudited income and expense statement for the 6 months ended December the 31st, 2023. Currently, the general fund has an operating surplus of $725,428.51. Our revenues are currently trending over the adopted budget due to grant revenue, and expenditures were trending at 68% of the adopted budget. Our investment income continues to have a positive variance this month. In addition, we had revenues from donations. We received the $500 anonymous donation for the Delaware City Food Closet. In addition, we did receive the urban forestry grant funds that were applied for on behalf of the Tree Commission. Currently, we have utilized $37,751.67 in ARPA funds this fiscal year. And report of the ARPA expenditure and the remaining funds to be expended by December 31st of 2024 are also submitted with the report. Our general administration revenues are currently at 63% of the adopted budget. whereas expenses are at 51% of the budget. December expenses were mainly just general operating expenses. Nothing out of the norm for code enforcement. For public safety, our December expenses again were mainly operating expenses. And currently, as you see, we have a negative variance in public safety expenditures, but that's only due to the capital outlays for the fire hall funded by the Community Reinvestment Grant. For the community center, we currently recognize $19,078.80 of our grant and aid revenue. Currently, our electricity expenses are trending over the fiscal year budget. Heating is currently under budget, but of course will increase substantially over the next few months. For public works, our December expenses included our maintenance contract, cutting of the phragmites along the canal, installation of holiday decorations around town. This current line is trending over the fiscal year budget with 76% of the budget already expended, with 6 months still left in the fiscal year. Sanitation, yard waste, stormwater, all within budget. Streets as well. For drainage, we did have ARPA expenditures. Those were final payment to Raybold Construction for the retainage for the Harbor Street Storm Sewer Project. This current project has been closed out. All closeout documents have been received and finalized. CRF expenses for the month were payments to Verdantis for the ongoing seawall study. Our park expenses for December included seawall repairs, leaf removal, and the planting of trees in the planter boxes at the Battery Park. This expenditure line is also currently trending over the budget with 67% already expended, with 6 months still left in the year. December expenditures for trees included payments to Stein Tree for the planting of 5 trees. And as noted previously, $5,000 of the tree maintenance expenses are being offset by the urban forestry grant that has been received. Recycling debt service, all within the current budget. Remainder of the report are special funds. I will take you to Delaware City Day. We are still trying to close out Delaware City Day. We still have one remaining invoice before we can formally finalize the 2023 event.
Who's that from, Michelle?
Capital Police. And that concludes the finance report for December 2023.
Thank you. Just a quick point of clarification, Michelle, if you don't mind. I know we have the auditor coming up tonight, but the $725,000 surplus, is that what we're projecting to be the surplus at the end of the fiscal year, or is part of that surplus going to be used for operating expenditures for the rest of the fiscal year?
No, that surplus is only due to the fact we're only 6 months in. It'll be used up with expenses for the remaining.
That's what I thought. Just want to make sure where anybody got so excited about spending all that money.
No.
All right, gotcha. All right, entertain a motion to approve the finance report subject to audit.
May I ask one question?
Yes.
On the ARPA funds, on the report that you sent us, it showed that there's $33,196.82 that's remaining. So that has to be spent this year?
Yes, those are funds unaccounted for. We have, that's the unaccounted for funds, and yes, they are to be expended by December 31st, 2024.
And you planning on expending that in this fiscal year or waiting till next fiscal year?
Well, it's all according to what projects come up. I would, anything that is not spent by this fiscal year, we'll definitely put in the budget for whatever projects we would need for next fiscal year.
Okay, but there's no issue, you're not anticipating any problem in finding a spot for that?
Not at all.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
I make a motion to accept the financial report subject to audit.
Second.
All right, motion second. Any further discussion? None, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. We're going to appointments, announcements, and communications. There are a few appointments this evening due to the upcoming election. Now, just another point of clarification, Michelle, is these appointments for the election board, are they gonna cover the March and April election, or just the one? Okay.
Yes, I am pretty sure when we're reaching out to the board members, we're asking for both.
I'm sorry, February and the.
And
All right,
February.
gotcha, okay, all right. All right, so we'll do these individually. The first one is for the election board. The first one is, Tim Delaplane, the motion.
I make a motion to, elect Tim Delaplane, election.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Barrett.
Aye.
Councilmember Saunders.
Aye.
Councilmember Price. Aye. Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
All right. Tim's been confirmed. The next one is, Jean Bonner, the motion for Jean.
Yeah, I make that motion.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Barrett.
Aye.
Councilmember Saunders.
Aye.
Councilmember Price. Aye. Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
All right, Jean's been confirmed. The next is for the election officers. First one is, Bonnie Hannah.
Make a motion.
Second.
All right, roll call.
Vice Mayor Barrett.
Aye.
Councilmember Saunders.
Aye.
Councilmember Price. Aye. Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
All right, Bonnie's been confirmed. Angela Williamson,
So moved.
Second.
roll call.
Vice Mayor Barrett.
Aye.
Councilmember Saunders.
Aye.
Councilmember Price. Aye. Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
All right, the final one is Madonna Malinowski.
Make a motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Vice Mayor Barrett.
Aye.
Councilmember Saunders.
Aye.
Councilmember Price. Aye. Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
Aye.
That's all the appointments for this evening. Open it up to communications or any committees or commissions that wanna give a report. Planning,
Planning had no meeting this month. However, as chair of the board of electors, we have a third elector. We have to have one. Does the board of electors go year to year, or is it 3 years?
I don't know.
I need a third board member to fulfill the charter.
I'd like to look that up, I don't have it right in front of me.
Do we have any candidates registered at this point?
Michelle said yes.
I believe we have 3.
Okay, what's the cutoff?
For the special election, I
Yeah.
think it's January 31st, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, nothing for planning? Done for planning, Tim?
No, I said planning had no meeting.
HPC?
Nothing for HPC this month.
Main Street?
None.
Tree?
We had a working meeting session this last week, doing planning for this next fiscal year. Less focus on cutting things down and more focus on trying to find the appropriate place to plant additional trees, do additional educational measures, and bumping up our grant funding efforts were more or less the outcome of that. We do have Arbor Day observation as is required to maintain our Tree City status, and that will be the last week in April. We'll be doing collaboration with the library and a couple other groups in town. We're hoping to work together, getting kids more involved, and again, just furthering the educational aspect and collaboration with everyone in town.
All right. Is anybody here from the library?
I would represent the library. As far as I know, there's nothing major coming up, just a few of the, events this week. The writers group, I believe, is Wednesday night from 5 o'clock on, where anyone interested in writing a book can come. It's really pretty interesting. But, and then the new maker space is open, so, there are hours for that when they're open. They have sewing machines, they have all sorts of cool stuff, so if you don't have a sewing machine and you need to fix a dress or have a pair of pants, call the library, find the hours, and you can go over there and use the sign sheets. Okay?
All right, thank you. Anything for the refinery? Nothing refinery. African Union, anything? Yep.
Yes, Mary Cooper Jenkins, 2001 Draper Street. I'm reporting on a very special project of the Friends of the African Union Church Cemetery. We are organizing to have the first ever Delaware City Hopetown Juneteenth celebration this year coming up. It'll occur between May 25th, which is Summer-Off Day, and Juneteenth itself. We had our first planning committee meeting last week, January 11th. We had over 20 representatives from the community, including many people at the table and many people here in the audience. Very enthusiastic, very energized, with many good ideas. We have our Delaware City Day consultant over there that's giving us a lot of good information about costs and things. This week we will be dividing into teams. We will have a budget and fundraising team, we'll have a program team, we'll have all the teams that are required to have an extraordinary event. I'm reporting this in the context of the fact that this is the 30th year that 30 years ago, it was children playing in the reeds that found these unusual tombstones. And David Orr, member of our community, recognized those as tombstones issued by the federal government to USCT, United States Colored Troops members. So we have 5 that are interred there. It was Linda Beck here, who's current president of the Friends of the African Union Cemetery, and her husband, and David, and many other members of the community, who reclaimed that space as a place of honor or contemplation in this community. There are Juneteenth celebrations, observances all over the country. They're all over the state, but I believe we're the only ones in Delaware who actually have the soldiers in our midst. So it's a very special and a very sacred place. I hope you all will continue to support Juneteenth and the cemetery, and we're really very excited and thrilled with the kind of support that we've received already from the refinery, from our council people, from our mayor, and we want to keep building that and include everybody in that process. I can't remember who said it, but somebody said, maybe you know the poet, history makes us, or we make history. We're about making history here. It seems very small, but it's this kind of together work that can make the kind of history that we want to see in this town and in this country. So, join us. Thank you.
Anything for Delaware City Day? All right, Christine, anything for the ladies? Wally back there, anybody from the men's side? Mark? Any other commissions or organizations I overlooked, or anybody else that wants to give a report?
Can I just circle back to the question that we had?
Yes.
It is an annual appointment for each of them, it has to be between
You
3
would have to have a third person by the next mayor and council to be approved.
So can we add that, Michelle, just to make sure that's on the next agenda? All right, thank you. All right, there's no old business this evening, so we're gonna move on to new business. We do have the item number 1 is the auditor's report for FY '23. I'd like to take the podium, and could somebody give them, one of the mics down there, please?
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. My name is Frank DeFroda. I am with Wisman Giordano, accounting firm. Just here to present the results of the audit. The main independent auditor's report is on page 1. It basically states that we've audited the accompanying financial statements of the City of Delaware City as of for the years ended June 30th, 2023, and 2022, along with the related notes to the financial statements. Second paragraph basically states, in our opinion, the financial statements of the City of Delaware City are fairly stated as of June 30th, 2023 and 2022, and for the years that ended in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. So this is what we call an unmodified report or clean opinion, and this is the type of opinion that all governments would like to obtain as part of the audit process. The financial statements are the responsibility of management, and our responsibility is basically to audit those financial statements based on management providing us with those numbers, okay? This year, the audit was a little different than in prior years. This year, we did an audit in accordance with the single audit, the uniform guidance. The reason being is if you spend more than $750,000 in federal funds, you're required to have a single audit that gets reported to the government, okay? So from an auditor standpoint, there are a lot of additional compliance testing. We tested the expenditures, the receipts that come in, making sure you're in compliance with the federal guidelines. And as a result of that, we're happy to report that there were no findings as it relates to the federal grant, and no compliance issues as well, okay? This year, we spent about $751,000 in federal funds. Some of the money that was received was deferred until this fiscal year because those expenses didn't take place, okay? When you look at your balance sheet, Michelle kind of reported a little bit, but as of June 30th, 2023, your total assets went from $8.6 million to $10.6 million, so a $2 million increase. Basically, the increase surrounded increase in cash and investment, as well as to your property and equipment. As a result of receiving all those federal funds and state funds, we had building improvements, street and sidewalk improvements, et cetera, to the city. Liabilities went up about $400,000, but there were enough current liabilities to cover there were enough current assets, I should say, to cover the current liability. So as of June 30th, 2023, you can see that there was improvement in the financial position of the City of Delaware City. For the year, the revenues, from a government-wide standpoint, the revenues exceeded the expenses by $1.5 million. Basically, it was a swing of about $1.9 million from the previous year. So again, it shows improvement. The grants that came in, the additional grants from the state and federal government really helped obtain that additional surplus for this year. When you look at your general fund, again, the balance sheet is in good shape. As far as the income statement, your revenues for the year in the general fund were about $3.8 million, compared to $3.7 in expenses. So you had about $80,000 surplus in your fund balance for the general fund. So again, a good year this year. Prior year, you had a deficit of $473,000. So positive result for this year. As far as the notes to the financial statements, the notes to the financial statement help the reader get a better understanding of the policies and procedures that the City of Delaware City adhere to. There are no additional disclosures or any new standards that needed to be implemented this year. And then finally, in the back, there are two additional reports, one having to do with the internal controls and the compliance surrounding the single audit, and again, there are no findings to report. Overall, management, Michelle and her staff were very good throughout the audit process. They made all the information available to us. They gave us the information timely, and there were no disagreements throughout the audit process. Everything went real smooth. Any questions?
Any questions, council? No, looks like there are no questions.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. If anything comes up, Michelle knows where to find me. She can send me an email and I'll get back to her.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
Yeah.
I just want to say, Michelle, you did a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item number 2 is 905 4th Street, the overhaul property, subdivided lot into 3 parcels for final approval. I believe, Tim, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this has already been approved in planning, correct?
Yes, we said to the day of that.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so approved planning, recommendation from planning was approved, so now it's on the table for council for consideration.
My question is, can we get some sort of a presentation so we actually know what's happening? I mean,
No,
kind of about,
At this point, we're just looking at whether they can subdivide.
Correct.
Future, what they're gonna do with the properties is a different.
right, but I want to know, how big are the subdivision properties? What the hell are they actually subdividing? I'm just curious.
I believe, Ms. Overholser's in attendance, would you like to speak on that topic, or do you have somebody here?
Yes, I have to be read, but
Okay, if you'd just like to take the podium and kind of explain what you're doing, that'd be fine.
well, I really. My lot is like this, and, on Fifth Street, I have a piece of ground that is long here, where Dr. Scott was. I have a lot of, I bought. And it's 275 long and 75 wide. That's space there, and that's where I would like to put a house. Do you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's where I would like to put a house. I also put, I got another lot, side of my house, there's, more ground, so I have that spaced off, but I'm not putting a house on right away. So my property went to three divisions, understand?
Any other questions? All right, vote before for council's consideration.
I don't see anything wrong with it. You're gonna be having a driveway from the notes from the planning, from Fifth Street, a driveway. Yeah, from, the notes from planning. One of the commissioners had asked for the location of the driveways, and you said it's gonna be on Fifth Street for that one lot.
On Fifth Street,
Yeah, okay,
yes. The driveway's gonna be off of the Fifth
I
Street.
can see.
okay.
I'm wondering though, what I have to do, maybe is, how I have to go about to get a driveway in there from Fifth Street. Do I have to go to the county?
I would
I
say,
mean, if it's coming off Fifth Street, you'd have to go through the state, because Fifth Street out here is it's a state road.
I do?
Yes,
I have to go to the county.
you have to go to the state.
DelDOT, state of Delaware. Yeah.
So, in my understanding, all we're approving tonight is just subdividing it, we're not approving, what, a house on it or anything else, right?
We're just approving the subdivision only, and any plans on those subdivided lots still has to go before a planning commission.
Okay, we'll come back here.
It comes back to us for final approval, correct?
Okay, I make a motion, to agree to the subdivision.
I'll second.
All right, motion is second. Is there any further discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Barry.
Aye.
Councilmember Saunders.
Aye.
Councilmember Price.
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
All right, motion's approved. Item number 3 is Fort DuPont Annual Report. Unfortunately, Tim Slavin could not make it this evening, so we'll have to add that, Michelle, to the next agenda, please. All right, item number 4, discussion appointment of acting city manager. I'd like to have council's confirmation to appoint Michelle interim city manager until we put the process together and we'll find a replacement.
I make a motion to appoint, Michelle Graham, acting city manager.
Michelle, do you want to do this again?
I did.
She's
Seconded.
glutton for punishment over
Yeah.
here.
I guess, I had have no problem with you doing it yourself. I'm just questioning you, at the last one, kind of toward the end of your time, you seem to be overwhelmed with things. And I'm just curious if you see anything different this time.
Yes.
How is it gonna be different?
Yes, what I did was, when I gave it some thought into accepting, I came up with a whole transition plan in which, some of the responsibilities that really didn't require a city manager, I have delegated those to others. As well as made some changes in some other procedures of the staff within the office to be able to make this transition a little better than last time.
Okay, can you explain to us what you delegated, what's what?
The attendance at the evening meetings planning as well as HPR, I'm sorry, not HPR. Historic preservation, I'm sorry. Those will be, our city clerk, Brittany Loveland, will be attending those meetings and reporting those back. Some of the committee meetings I've also, for events, have been delegated to our community relations specialist, Corinne. So she'll be serving on Delaware City Day as well as helping out with the African American, I just drew a blank. African Union Society, I'm sorry. So I've delegated those responsibilities as well as, slated Brittany more toward land use duties, and Corinne is gonna take over things such as the election and so forth that Brittany was handling at first, so. Along with that, I think that, there was a lot going on this summer with the start of projects, and projects coming on board. I had a whole bid out for, project out for bid. We were closing up Washington Street. I had the, flood mitigation was in the, beginning stages, which required a lot of time. So at this time, as I said, it's more manageable than it was this summer because, I had been in the midst of all of those projects now for a time, and so therefore, they're not all coming at once, and having to not only, familiarize myself with the project in order to be able to, make decisions on them. So that part also will help out a great deal this time. Also, if you recall, last summer I had, to deal with, Dave leaving, so there's a whole offboarding process that goes when a person leaves. I was hiring a new person coming on board. We also lost an officer in the midst of that. Anytime we add staff, we lose staff, that, also adds to my responsibility. So as a result of not having all of that going on, yes, much more manageable at this time than it was last time.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Barrett. Aye. Councilmember Saunders.
Aye.
Councilmember Price. Aye. Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
Congratulations, Michelle. The other thing we need to discuss also, surrounding the, item number 4 for the city manager is how, I believe we have the posting and the qualifications put together, but we need to decide how we're going to, post, advertise, and, get candidates together for the permanent position. My recommendation, and this is simply my recommendation, we'd have to look and see what the budget is, but technically I'd like to outsource, this to an HR firm and have the HR firm bring us back the top 3 names for consideration. That's my recommendation. It takes all the,
I agree with that one, but I would like to know the cost first.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know that in the past, the solicitor's office, not your office, but other solicitor's offices have done that for us. There's also a cost associated with that,
Yeah.
but, do we want to compare the two? And if the solicitor's office is willing to do that.
I would like to have an outside firm myself.
Okay.
I think that, and I don't wanna speak for the, on behalf of the city solicitor's office, but I think there's just 2 different things there. The solicitor's more legal matters, or I think hiring would be more HR related.
I'm just saying that it's
Yeah.
been done that way in the past, so I just was questioning if we were, I don't know if it was good or bad, so I was questioning it. I don't have a problem with, doing the way you suggested, with throwing it out
Personally, I'd like to take council and even myself out of it, until we get the final names brought to council. It takes the personal relationships out, it takes the names out of it, keeps us completely out of it until we're ready to make a final decision. I just personally think that's the best way to go, but of course, we do have to see what the price tag will be, so.
Yeah, Michelle, can you get us a ballpark figure or something like that?
Now, can we, I don't know if we wanna, wait until the next mayor and council meeting, but, maybe we can draft a motion tonight that if it's within budget, after Michelle looks at her numbers, that we can move forward with a posting to an HR firm.
I don't even know what the baseball cost, a figure for it. I have no clue, so I can't.
No, what I'm saying is if Michelle looks at the budget and says, okay, we can afford $20,000 and we solicit HR firms and it's only gonna be $10,000. If it's within the budget, then we move forward instead of waiting until February's meeting.
Yeah, that's true.
But, it's up to council, that's just my recommendation.
Well, it seems like a solid plan. What's the legality of us drafting a resolution before having a budget for the resolution to be drafted around?
Well, you can it's not a resolution, you just make a motion to authorize Michelle to post the position to an HR firm contingent upon being within the confines of our budget.
Okay.
Okay.
Chandra, you believe it? Does that sound reasonable?
It does.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. I would just like to add to it, I'd like Michelle to let us know, what the budget is, so we know, what's happened before the next, when she actually does it.
That's fine. Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
Second.
Motion second, any further discussion? None, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion's carried. Member of council comments? Councilman Jackson?
Nothing at this time.
Councilman Saunders?
Nothing at this time.
Councilwoman Price?
Nothing.
Vice Mayor Barrett?
Nothing.
All right, a couple quick things I have. The water pressure issue has finally been resolved. The water pressure should be back to normal. There was an issue in town, where parts of the town, for some reason, peaked up to 80 PSI. It wasn't supposed to go that high, and it blew a pipe, 2 pipes on 4th Street. So they were trying to isolate different areas of the city until that was repaired. That has been done, so as of now, the pressure's back up to about 60 PSI where we should be, so hopefully, there are no more issues with the water. There is a new city Facebook page. Unfortunately, the Facebook page that we had was created many, many years ago. And I'm just gonna be as honest as we can. We don't have the login credentials, so we had to create a new page. We're putting the credentials up in a safe place, so if we have turnover in the office, that we don't lose them again. But the goal is to get postings out there almost on a daily basis, at least several times a week, as another means of the town communicating with the residents instead of waiting until the newsletter comes out or something like that. So, please, if you're on Facebook, like the new page. We're going to try to get content out there as routinely as possible. That concludes my report. We'll move into citizens' questions and comments. Any citizens' questions or comments? Steve?
Dave Turley, 201 Clinton Street. I wanted to give a shout out to the fire department. We had a neighbor who had an event in her home. From the moment she started the 911 call to the arrival of the fire and rescue people was 4 minutes. I can't get out of my driveway in 4 minutes. And I made it over to the neighbor's house just as they were finishing up. Just the level of calm and compassion and professionalness that was exhibited by every single member of the fire department was just, I don't know, it just really touched me. So anyway, hats off to our fire department. What an absolutely stunning group of professionals and volunteers we have.
Thank you. I'll make sure pass that on to the chief and president. I think the president's actually working tonight, but I'll pass those comments on as well. I did want to report kind of on the same page as that is, a lot of people might have noticed during the snowstorm, the career staff or the staff that was working took it upon themselves, they went out and cleared a lot of the elderly, senior members and some of our members' driveways. They did a lot of shoveling. It wasn't even asked of them, so it kind of goes hand in hand with what you were saying. So I just wanted to make that publicly known as well.
Thanks.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I saw them out there.
Yeah. Any citizens' comments? Yes, John.
May I stand?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to stand behind anybody. First of all, it's cold in here. I want to wish everybody a happy new year, to Mayor, Council, and all the good people of Delaware City and the not so good people. I want to thank Mayor Johnson for allowing us to decorate the gazebo at Christmas time. The Christmas weekend looked pretty sad. And I texted Mayor Johnson and asked him, would he mind if I threw some lights up there? He said, go for it. I hope you let us do it next year, and I promise you, if you do, we'll give you a photo op. So I'd like to have your permission.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Also, I'd like to congratulate you on your recent retirement from the county.
Hey, thank you.
I gotta say, I'm a little jealous.
Yeah.
My name is Sean Buckheit. I live at 30 Clinton Street. I've resided at 210 previously. Bought property here about 20 years ago. Fell in love with Delaware City. It's beautiful, it's business friendly, and it's got great people in there. We're like a little family. We love you, and sometimes we can't stand you, but we're family. 20 years ago, we purchased a property about every year. So we got about 20 properties now. These properties, we put a lot of money into them for restoration because they're historic buildings, and old buildings need money for rehabilitation for the structure. They need, I have to write everything down because I forget everything. They need rehabilitation for the structure, they need landscaping, they need curb appeal. And to get the funding to do this, we do short-term rentals, we do a lot of rentals. Our leases come in a variety of flexible leases. These properties require a lot of money, so we have to do short-term projects. Sometimes we can't do the whole thing at the same time, so we'll bring a tenant in for so long, pull the tenant, when the tenant moves out, we do the next phase of the project. But I think we've done a pretty good job on our properties. They're in the commercial and the business district. Excuse me, I'm horrible at public speaking. We've had a lot of great tenants. We've had Valerie Longhurst, she's the Speaker of the House, she was one of our tenants. The federal government was one of our tenants. So we dealt with a big variety of places. Our retirement was going to be these properties in Delaware City. But this recent ordinance that you just recently passed, we're not gonna be able to do that. Because Gail and I plan on retiring elsewhere. We're gonna make our home somewhere else. And we're gonna have to sell these properties, and we can no longer invest into Delaware City. And I don't understand why this ordinance was created. Because it prevents people, it discourages people from investing in these properties. We got a lot of historic properties in town that are abandoned and are in big need of repair. But we're not addressing them. We're going after the people that are investing in properties, and you're requiring me to live in Delaware City to own these properties. And I just think it's a wrong ordinance, I think it's unfair. And I do hope you guys would reconsider it, because actually I'd like to ask Betty and Dan why.
Well, there were two questions. I mean, I'm the right person to ask, you know, because I was the one who formed the committee to look at all of these things. There were a lot of concerns about short-term rentals, you know, basically overnight type things, weekend things, because people had a lot of bad experiences with them, or had family members. I'm not talking about necessarily here. And so they felt that we needed some structure around them. And so when we went through that, there was, the city solicitor came up with a lot of regulations that other municipalities had done. And so we adopted basically the one that was done in Dover. The question of whether you needed to be a resident or not was basically in that the Dover ordinance. And so it just, you know, went through the planning commission and everything, and then people were comfortable with it. And so that's how it got there.
What people were comfortable with? I mean,
The people who were on the committee, and then the people on the planning commission.
okay. So you think it's okay that I won't be able to have properties in Delaware City, and I shouldn't invest any more money in Delaware City?
Well, again, the focus was strictly on short-term rentals.
Which my properties are.
Okay, so all of your properties less than 30-day rentals?
Most, I do flexible leasing. I don't hire a lawyer, forgive me, that's probably why I own so many properties, because I don't use lawyers. But all my properties are flexible leasing, so I don't lock people into long term.
I think the other part of it, John, was that when you looked at what some other municipalities, the issues they had with non-resident owners, they weren't always as willing to invest in the properties. They were strictly cash cows. And so I'm just saying that this is what, you know, was presented as something that could potentially be a problem. And so that was part of the reason to say, okay, you need to be a resident. Because there was concern that we didn't want a lot of people coming in and just being, you know, buying up a place, not being, you know, considerate of trying to, you know, do what you've done.
Right, you don't want me.
No, you take care of the properties, I'm not saying.
But you're gonna prevent me from doing that.
I'm gonna say, you know, we can always relook at things, but again, that was,
Well, instead of looking at things, why don't we have more discussion on things before stuff like this happens?
well, again, we had discussion on it, we had several public hearings, but that particular part of it, actually, I don't think was ever brought up, that particular question that you just raised. That, you know, it was, at least I don't remember it, maybe other people do, but.
Okay, well,
But again,
you're
that's,
chasing me out of town. So, you're stopping people from investing in these old buildings and restoring them, and I take great pride in that. I've restored a lot of buildings, I stabilized the properties, I give a curb appeal, I give a landscaping. And now that I'm looking for my as I go into my golden years, and I wanna go somewhere else because Delaware City doesn't have one level living, and I'm gonna need that as I get older and fatter. I won't be able to own property, I won't be able to have investments here. And I love this thing, I love doing business here. But it seems like you wanna chase me out.
I'm not trying to chase anybody out.
Well, I believe you have, I mean, you did that, and then back in March, you created an ordinance that's gonna allow an ice cream truck to do business right in front of my ice cream parlor, which is the only thing we sell is ice cream, by the way. So, you're doing a pretty good job. So, thank you.
John, could you pre-leave the podium, could you, you know, as you know, the ordinances, it's a Delaware City ordinance, so ordinances can be changed or amended as needed. I know the residency requirement was one of your concerns, but if you have any other concerns with the short-term rental, could you?
Well, there's many concerns I've had. I mean, the payments, the fees to begin with.
I understand.
I mean, I'm gonna have to pay the city $900 on a short-term lease,
What I
and
was gonna
3% of the rental.
Could you just draft an email to mayor and council on what those concerns are so they can be considered?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens?
Let me just make one other comment, John, the ordinance applies only to the residential areas, not to.
That's correct, and I own properties in the residential.
Okay, but you also own properties in the commercial
I do.
district. So it doesn't pertain to the commercial district.
I'm well aware of that.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
All right, any other citizens' comments? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Is there anything in the works about Clinton Street being repaved? It's a busy street, there's now, potholes, and those potholes started. Has anything been discussed about Clinton Street?
It has. We have money for paving available. We had to reallocate some funding because we had a major project we had to do on the community center. We had to replace we're going to replace the HVAC system, which is something we have to do, not by choice. If not, we're gonna basically have to shut the whole building down. So, once those funds are reallocated and we know what we have for paving, then we are gonna take a look at our paving list, but it won't be till April or May when the season is right for paving. But yes, that is being looked into. Yes. Anyone else? Citizens' comments? Yes, Tim?
In Old Lane, 118 Lake Street. Last storm, the other side of China concrete fell out of seawall on the riverside, down by the point where the flags are. Might want to get looked at or something, before it's ready.
Okay. All right, any other citizens' comments?
Oh, okay.
Is there a hand back here? Oh, okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
I just want to thank you for offering to plow or shovel. You put out that Facebook post about shoveling people's walkways, elderly and whatnot. And, I didn't have no other person, but I appreciate you stepping up and doing that. And I also appreciate all the information you put on Facebook to keep us informed.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. All right, any other citizens' comments? All right, before we adjourn, is there anybody here that's final call for the third quarter supplemental assessment Board of Appeals for FY '24? Is there anybody here that wants to speak on that behalf? All right, if not, I'm going to adjourn that meeting. And final call for citizens' comments. All right, seeing none, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.